Welcome everybody to another edition of Living the Brand. I won't spend too much time giving intros because I think it's going to be much more interesting hearing it from Noah. I did want to say a few things about him, which he probably won't say about himself, knowing having gotten to know him over the last couple of years. He hails from St. Louis, Missouri, is 28 years old, and in 28 years has done some really remarkable things and achieved some really incredible heights as an individual. His amputation story dates back to when he was 17 years old. I think he was a skateboarder, has always been an avid skateboarder. I remember the story that he was saying once on a panel talk that after one of his skateboarding sessions, he felt a sort of pain on his shin bone, and he thought he just had bumped it somewhere. And before you know it, that thing, wasn't just a bump on the shin bone, but was actually cancer, which led then to operation complications, which we'll talk about, and led to his amputation at the age of 17. 2018, and that's 4 years after the amputation. A lot of things have happened, and he'll tell us a story about all that, but he's been part of the U.S. Paralympic team since 2018. Gold medal and bronze medal in the Pyeongchang Games. He's a four-time world champion in snowboarding, has 4 Crystal Globes as well, which is something that you get at the end of the season when you have the most points. Just an incredible person, but beyond that, an extremely grounded individual, has been involved with several Autoblock initiatives. And what I want to say on behalf of everyone here, Noah, he's been an extremely helpful and collaborative individual. He is an ESPY winner from this year, which is pretty cool. He dropped everything that he was doing and came out to LA to do the walk and play thing with the Children's Hospital, which was a couple of years ago. He came to the Invictus Games this year and was a patient model with his X3, which he's been wearing. Before that, he was competitor products, so we'll talk about that a little bit. He got his X3 through All Claims, so that's another connection that he has to Autoblock. You flew out to Barcelona and were featured in the documentary New Boundaries with Marianne. Taught Marianne how to skate, it was skating, right? You get it, I guess it's skate mud at Barcelona.
I want to build that as prosthetic for skating.
There you go. So, and all these things he does in the midst of his very, very intense training schedule, competition schedule. I remember that when he came to Vancouver this year, it was right after competing, and then he went off to Salt Lake City, I think, to compete again. So I know that this is not a given that someone like you of your level just drops this stuff and comes and shows up for a brand like ours. So from everyone here, and you do have a lot of touch points with a lot of people here, thank you very much. It's incredible, and we hope to continue this partnership with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Theo.
Well, wow, that was incredible.
How am I going to follow that up? No, but the real reason I'm here today, guys, is first I want to thank all you guys for all your continued support and changing lives. You guys, every position and role that you play in Autoblock is creating life-changing experiences for people worldwide, globally. It's incredible, and I am firsthand one of those recipients of the life-changing experiences that you guys help provide. So, as stated, my name is Noah Elliot. I've been on the Paralympic snowboard team now since 2018. That has taken me all over the world and brought me a lot of great opportunities. But my story did not start out anywhere near the mountains and the snow. So I actually grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. You can see here, that's me actually with my first skateboard on the side there. And at an early age, I just love sports. I love to try everything. I wanted to get my hands on anything I could that would keep me entertained and having fun. And one of my neighbors actually was a skateboarder. So I remember watching him skateboard. I lived on this hill and he skateboarded down, and I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. What is that? He looked just like out of the movie, kicked it up, grabbed in. Like, what is that? What is that? I came running out and was in the driveway. He's like, this is a skateboard. So the next few months consisted of me just begging my mom to get me a skateboard. So that's a picture of me, my first skateboard when I got it. Went to Target, picked it up, got a picture, love it. What I didn't know at that time is that something skateboarding would provide for me is life-changing. It gave me something to put my focus into and progress and take notes and make goals. And by the time I was 10 years old, I already knew that I wanted to become a professional skateboarder one day. I'd been in enough skateboard shops to see the professional films, and I'm like, wow, you can skateboard all over the world and do that as a job? Like, that's the coolest job ever. I want to do that. So I started training. And every day I was on my skateboard, I was training. And that was what was getting me closer to that goal of becoming a professional. And I was actually well on my way. When I was 14, 15 years old, I had local companies in St. Louis, Missouri sponsoring me to send me to a big competition in Tampa Bay called the Tampa Am. And that was a skateboard competition that if you went to and did well, you can make a name for yourself and bridge that gap. That was my goal. Around that same time, I had two big things happen to me. Number one, I learned that I was going to become a teen father. My daughter was on her way and she was going to be born, and I had to make a plan. If skateboarding wasn't going to work out, what was I going to do? How was I going to be able to provide for my family? Because I knew that I wanted to be there every step along the way. I wanted to give her the dad that she deserved. And in 2013, February, my daughter Skylar was born. One of the first things I had to do is what? Get her on a skateboard. And that started the journey, right? Of me being so motivated past the point of which I had already been. But around the same time, Skylar was, growing and developing, and she was becoming old. She was already like 5 months old. I'm like, holy crap. How are you already 5 months old? And when she was 5 months old, I had been dealing with this pain in my left leg and couldn't figure out what it was coming from. I thought maybe I'd entered it skateboarding or bumped it on a rail when I was skating, and I just was going to go in the hospital, get it looked at, and hopefully come out with, hopefully not even surgery, it's just a PT. What happened that day changed my life forever. I went into the hospital, and I remember my mom went with me, and we got x-rayed down my leg, and about 30, 40 minutes later, they started calling my name over the intercom in St. Louis Children's Hospital. And to me, I'm like, this is awesome. Like, they got my name on the intercom here? This is sweet. They told us that we needed to go across the street to a different building and go to the 10th floor. And there was a doctor's office up there. So I'm looking at my mom. We're walking over. We're talking. We're joking about it. I think I'm so cool because my name was just stated on the intercom. And I could see that my mom was a little like, this is strange. Like, why would they do that? We get in the elevator. We hit the button number 10. And we get to the top. And the elevator doors open. And the first thing I see is a big word on the wall. And it says oncology. And that was the point when I think I realized that this was going to be something that was going to be a lot bigger than just an ACL or meniscus. So I went to the hospital room. They had a team of like 10 doctors, all different specialties, come into the rooms, put the x-ray up on the board, and they said, you have a mass on your knee. And I had just turned 16. I was like, what is a mass? Like, I hadn't had any experience of cancer. I had any experience of these words. And to me, I'm like, well, what is that? And they said, we think we know what it is. It's not benign. We believe it is a type of cancer called osteosarcoma. It's a bone cancer. It's eating away your knee. And you're extremely lucky that you found it as early as you did, because it is a very aggressive cancer. If anyone here has seen the movie Fault in Our Stars, that was an old movie. That was the kind of cancer that I had. And I immediately looked at my mom, and she was breaking down crying. And she's like, what is he going to do about school? Like, he just had a daughter. What's going to happen here? And to me, I'm like, that's cool, guys, but like, let's get surgery and get wrapped up because I got to go skate still. And they had to bring me back down to earth. And that's when I found out that I was going to be living in the hospital for a little over a year, receiving chemotherapy and doing my full regimen to try to hopefully beat cancer. I went home, I packed my stuff, and I moved in. Throughout that duration, I started my chemotherapy. My first surgery consisted of putting a Verroviac catheter line into my chest, which gave me the opportunity to not ruin my veins because they were administering so many medications. So it started with the chemotherapy. I got 4 different kinds a month. I got doxorubicin and cisplatin at the same time. And then I would receive 2 different style doses of methotrexate. And the entire time I was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. At that point, I realized that my hopes and dreams of becoming a skateboarder were gone. And up until that point, I was an athlete. So I had to start asking myself, who is Noah? We associate who we are with what we do. And when you lose what you do and who you are, you start to really question, who am I? What can I be? And it takes a real big mental toll on you. And I was asking myself all those hard questions and trying to get answers for those because I knew if I did survive this cancer diagnosis, I had to survive for my daughter. I had to survive and I had to create a life no matter what so that I could be the best that I could be for her. It was 2013 to 2014 when I was in the hospital. And thanks to the team of doctors and nurses that were there at that hospital helping me, I discovered something that would set in stone a goal and a dream of mine that would soon become a reality. I watched the Paralympics in 2014 in Sochi debuted Paralympic snowboarding. And I was starstruck immediately. I was like, that is incredible. They're snowboarding. They're missing legs. Mind you, at that time, I still had my leg. They at first wanted to try to save my leg before we did any other surgery. So they did a total knee replacement, a full tibia bone replacement, and they took my calf muscle on the leg that was injured and put it on the inside to protect all the metal. So I was still going through the recovery process of that and just learning to walk. After I was inspired by the Paralympics on TV, I wouldn't stop talking about it. And because of that, I had an opportunity to go to my first time ever to Colorado, and I fell in love with the mountains. So I went to Colorado. That's what you can see here. Some pictures of me actually in the hospital with my sisters, and then that one with me in the tie-dye shirt. Come on. That's actually in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, my first time ever in the mountains, and I was set on this journey of trying to learn how to snowboard one day. Fortunately, at the time, I couldn't do that because of my leg. But I went back home after that camp. I was on a snow bike at that camp, so they have like a bike with skis on it, and I got to ride around on that, and it was a great time. But when I went home, I still felt empty. I still felt like I needed to do something. And I found out that the reason my leg was hurting so bad after this knee replacement is actually because of a complication due to my first surgery. I developed a staph infection in it, and my body was beginning to reject all the metal that it put in. So I went home, went to the doctor. They said surgery is scheduled. You have 10 days. What are you going to do? Could you imagine if somebody came in here today and told you that you have cancer and your leg just got fixed and now you have 10 days and they're going to try to repair it again, but now you're going to have less range of motion? I couldn't even ride a bike. What kind of life is that? That's the way that I saw it. I was an athlete and I couldn't do anything besides walk and could hardly do that. And so immediately I said, amputate my leg. Amputate my left leg above the knee so that I can pursue sports again. This is my dream. This is my goal. I want to do it. And so that's what I did. I got my amputation and I moved on to start saving money so that I could try to chase this dream and move to the mountains. That's what I did. I moved to the mountains and started my snowboarding journey. And throughout all of that, I was able to find myself. I started realizing that snowboarding is pretty similar to skateboarding. And in fact, I thought it was going to be a little bit easier because now my feet are strapped to the works. So I started my training, and within a year, I made it to my first Paralympic Games. Nice. All those years of skateboarding, all that training that I was putting on myself, and all those hard times and all those slams on concrete were preparing me for what I was getting ready to do on snow and standing atop the podium in Pyeongchang, South Korea. So I won my first gold and bronze medal at my first games, and that was the jump start. I realized that I'm just getting started, and I realized in reflection how many people helped me along the way to get there. And I wanted to give back. So the first thing I did after winning my gold and bronze medal is I went back to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, where I started my journey, and I actually started working at the adaptive center that took me out on the mountain so that I could share the impact of having that, what I received. And that's what I was doing. I was sharing the opportunity and helping others get out on snow or get out and just recreate with a disability and showing them that there is a life living with a disability. That has taken me over the years to many, many different cool places, but also the impact that I've been able to have and help support, which is what every single one of you guys are doing here every day. And I really want to drive that home because I am one of those people. My first prosthesis that I received was a Freedom Innovations plie knee, which is what my insurance would cover at the time. And it was not the best knee, but it was a knee and it worked. I've got to see firsthand the quality and craftsmanship and the difference it makes to be a user of daily GMX3. The coolest function has a motorcycle mode. I can run motorcycles and shift with my prosthetic leg as an above the knee amputee, which is unheard of. Very, very cool. Throughout the years, I've been able to travel all over the world and work with many different nonprofits, but nothing short of amazing had been my time with Autobach. As JP had said, my first event was the Children's Walk and Play in LA. And I wanted to go there first because I was a children's hospital patient as well. So me to like get me out there, go in the morning, I'm doing this walk and it's going to be awesome. And we had a blast and we got to talk to so many different people and share the mission and just talk about what it's like to be a prosthetic user and how cool it is and what we're doing out here. So very incredible. Throughout the years, like I said, it's taken me all over. This is what's me with one of my sister blows, me with the gold medal, me with one of my teammates. And the special part about this crystal globe with me in the yellow, that was last season. And that was awarded to me in Steamboat Springs, Colorado at a World Cup. So it was a full circle moment that means so much to me, almost more than the gold medal. And that has been my journey. Thank you. These are some photos of me actually working at Stars in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and helping other people get out and recreate like I had talked about. And I got a chance to not only go to the Children's Walk and Play, but also show up for the Invictus Games and be on the Autobot team to support that and talk about our uses, our prosthetic, and actually meet and greet with the athletes. And I think that was a really cool opportunity because I got to meet with Invictus athletes, friends, and just people who weren't educated about what disability looks like for someone young. Because when we think of disability, we don't always think of a young, healthy person, right? Like most time when we're in pants, people don't realize I'm the same way. And I mean, you guys know, but unless I'm walking around like this, nobody's going to know. And I think that was a cool opportunity to kind of shed light on what it can be to live life with a disability as someone young. But very, very special. I got to go to the Invictus Games and support there. And actually, we had a blast. I mean, you could see it. And right after this, I had a chance to go to Salt Lake City for a competition. And I had to visit the factory. And this wall with all the customization for liners and everything, that is so incredible. No one else is doing that. Not to this level. This is incredible. So I had to get a picture with the wall. Absolutely amazing. I did have a great season last year, as I mentioned about my wristwatch. And thankfully, because of my season that I had last year, I got nominated for an ESPY for Best Athlete with a Disability. And this has been a goal of mine for a very long time. And so I was over the moon when I had the opportunity and I got the email and said, hey, you've been nominated. Congratulations. Oh my God, this is going to be crazy. So we got to go do the full red carpet thing. And lo and behold, I ended up on the ESPN pre-show and they award me with an ESPY. So it was absolutely incredible. My girlfriend's with me there in the black, and it was absolutely unreal experience. So couldn't have been more proud about that. But that gives me more of a platform, more of an opportunity to showcase our sport and help the coverage of it. Because our sports, Paralympic sports in general, doesn't matter what discipline, we need more coverage. We need more opportunities to share this. Because I'm from St. Louis. Someone being from St. Louis, Missouri and becoming a snowboarder is unheard of. It's like Texas, right? Like, go to Texas and now you're a professional skier or snowboarder. Like, doesn't happen often. But because they up the coverage on NBC for the Paralympics that year in 2014, I discovered something that would stick with me forever. So I am now having that opportunity to share and showcase our sports worldwide. And so this was a very unique opportunity, which is why I'm so proud to be a part of the Autobach team and to be working with you guys, because it truly is a worldwide experience of changing lives. As JP stated, I got to go to Barcelona and actually meet with somebody who had an injury from skiing, got caught in an avalanche, ended up losing his leg. But before that, he was a skateboarder also. And all he wanted to do was learn to skate again. That's like looking in the mirror for me. And I got to go meet him and actually help him set up a leg so he could skate. And we had a blast. We got to talk about the brand. We got to talk about living the brand and what that looks like. but that's all thanks to the hard work that happens with Autobot. So truly, truly incredible. I wanted to open the floor for questions because I hope you guys have some, and I think it'd be cool to answer some of the questions that you may have, either about Paralympics or about what it's like to live with a disability.
I have a question with smart Berlings. I guess about does your daughters have work too?
Yes, she does. I mean, that was one of those first things that as soon as I got established with the games and I got the medal, Skylar had to get on snowboard. Sorry, I didn't have any pictures of that, but yeah, she snowboards and she's so fast. Like, it's crazy. It's funny to watch her. I'm like, she could be better than me in no time. So,
what suspension method do you use?
that's a good question. I use suction right now, and I've had problems with it in the past. Sometimes I've had a suction seal break when I'm snowboarding, or I mean, you fluctuate. You could travel somewhere. Say we have a competition in Norway or Finland or something, and we're traveling over that way, and my leg swells. And so I do use suction right now. I've tried different methods, but I was able to actually get myself to a stable weight, which has helped. And when I go on the planes, I just bring multiple shrinkers now, just so I have that in case any swelling occurs. Yeah.
So a lot of adaptive sports equipment isn't covered by insurance.
Yes.
What problems did you have, and what have you heard, and how would people solve that so they could get what they wanted?
Thanks for asking that, because that was something that I actually meant to talk about and forgot I was going to talk about. Yeah, so obviously insurance is a big Debbie Downer on anything when it comes to medical devices. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in, and it sucks, but it's true. How I obtained my first snowboarding leg, because I did have the freedom innovation of plie, and my first time ever snowboarding, I did use that leg, and it worked, but it wasn't anything special, and there's definitely a limit of what I would be able to accomplish with that prosthetic device. Not to mention it probably would have broke if I snowboarded any more than 2 days for a couple hours. So what I did is I actually had a prosthetist at the time in St. Louis, and he was an amputee himself. So he already knew the ins and outs a little bit of insurance and how tricky it can be. And he was able to help me word an insurance claim. This is probably not the best thing to do, but word an insurance claim to where it looked like that was going to be my daily prosthesis. And because of that, I had a copay, and my copay was like $4,500 or something. And I just paid it off over time. But lucky for me, I started doing like speaking engagements to help try to raise money for the prosthetics so I could pay it off. And I was working as a dishwasher. That's how I saved my money to move to the mountains, actually. And then moved to the mountains and paid off a leg once I got a gold medal.
So how do
Yep.
We have a question from the chat that says, what foot do you have the X3 paired with?
Oh, I have, which foot? There's the vertical head, right, and Trident, right? Or the Triton.
Triton vertical shot.
Triton vertical shot. Yeah, that's it. I love it. It's really like the Cadillac Cruiser. That's what I call it, my Cadillac foot, because it's got the shock in it and it's really cushy. And I really enjoy that feature on this foot. Yeah.
I have a question. I don't know if I misheard, but did you say that within 1 year of your amputation, you were already competing at the first Paralympics?
So I was 1 year after starting snowboarding is actually when I was in Korea. And I kind of fast forwarded through that segment a little bit, but essentially what happened is I got the amputation in 2015. So it was 4 years after. And I moved to the mountains and started snowboarding, and I pretty much worked at a snowboard shop because I didn't know anything about snowboards, right? I only knew about skateboards, so I wanted to work somewhere that I was going to be able to learn about the equipment I would be using. So I worked as a snowboard tech and a boot renter. So I would rent out people come in, hey, I want to get set up for skis this weekend. Cool, here's some boots, here's some skis, go out and have fun. And that gave me an opportunity to learn about skis, snowboards, how to tune them, how to take care of them, but also gave me an opportunity to get a lift ticket, because lift tickets are expensive. So I pretty much utilized all my lunch breaks and went out training. Would like have a muffin, eat that, and then we'd go snowboard on lunch break. But it was a year after, like a year and like a couple months from when I started training in Park City to actually.
And I have a follow-up. So then was your first prosthetic a mechanical knee, or was it the plie prosthetic?
My first prosthetic was a plie. which was nice. And it worked, like I said, it worked for a while, and it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. And I would just probably have a leg at that point. And I think that's the sad part when we look at insurances nowadays is they see it as just that. Oh, you should be happy. You have a knee. You have a foot. You have a wheelchair. Yeah, it's not good, but you have a wheelchair. You can get around. And that's the unfortunate part. And that's why it's powerful for us to be standing here today talking about it and sharing that with the rest of the world so that we can see that change happen, because it's necessary and it needs to happen. And something that I really want to work towards, helping support that movement. Insurance here to 100% cover activity leg. It's healthy. People need it.
Well, your X3 is your daily prosthesis, but it also allows you to perform and compete, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, and the X3, right? When we talk about the technology that's been placed into this device, it's incredible and it's light years ahead of really anything else that's out there on the market. Obviously, the X Core is new, and that's incredible. I'm excited to hear more about that. But right now, this is the leading innovative mechanical device for us. And as an amputee, I utilize all the functions. Like being as active as I am, like I said, I have a big Harley Davidson like bagger bike that I ride because I have this setting on here, and that's incredible. But I also utilize like the running mode. There's a golf mode I haven't got a chance to play with, but I've got to try that out. And I have a wakeboard mode on it just in case, right? Because if I ever end up anywhere and I don't have my like snowboarding set up, I definitely want to use this. So, or like wakeboarding or anything like that.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your board behind you?
Yeah, so the snowboard right behind me is one of my babies, and it's brand new. So I've only got probably 10 days snowboarding on it. And it's all carbon fiber. It's completely custom built based off of the things that I like in a snowboard. And it's got my name on there. It's called the Podium because that's what we're shooting for here. And it's actually really cool. I got to ride it for the first time in the Mount Good, Oregon last month. And just to totally like change the top sheet and the build of carbon fiber on it makes it so much more responsive and so light. It's been really, really fun to play around with. So I'm actually really excited to get on snow with this. On Thursday, I'm heading to Argentina for snowboarding camp for our team. So I'll be having this. I have like 7 other snowboards with me here. So just going to go out and train. But this is one of my racers. So in the picture, you see my snowboard there. That's a different Winter Stick. Winter Stick is a snowboard company that I ride for. And they are actually, cool bit of history, they are the original snowboard company. 1972. Snowboarding was created in the US of A, so we're cool. I always thought that was really, really awesome claim. That snowboarding was created in the US, so very, very cool. But yeah, wild race boards. I have many of them. If anyone wants to know how many snowboards I have for racing, I have probably 20. And they range in flex patterns of stiffness, the bottom material, and then just the actual makeup of the board and how it's going to respond when it's on the edge.
I was going to have him share the Argentina where he's going tomorrow. So
Yeah, that's where I'm headed. We're going to be down there for the rest of the month, just doing cross training with other nations. So there's going to be like 5 or 6 different nations there total. I believe China, Canada, Australia, and a couple others. I think Japan will be there too. But that'll be a really cool experience. We'll have a course for us. We'll get to go and train with those guys. We compete with them worldwide all the time. So it's a great training opportunity, especially leading into a year like the game, the 2026 in Milan Cortina, Italy. Very much looking forward to that.
Yeah. What's next? So obviously, if you think about your sport and what you've pretty much achieved what you can achieve in that, which is awesome. But for somebody like yourself in your shoes, what is your ambition for the next 3 to 5 years? And like what you're stretching for now? You're clearly very driven. So what's next?
Yeah, great question. I have found myself becoming fully immersed in snowboarding. Okay. And over the years, it's given me an opportunity because of our sport is so young. But it is in the Paralympics. So I've had a chance to do a World Cup tour every season and go to the World Cups, do the World Championships, and then going to 2 Paralympic Games. In 2022, I had an injury, so I didn't do as well there. I got 4th and 6th place. And that kind of motivated me after the fact to just give it every single thing I got from there on, and how I could help transition my snowboarding from not only a Paralympic sport, but just be seen as a great snowboarder. And that's my mission moving forward. this games is coming up and I'm planning to do really well and I'm going to ride the best I can. But outside of that, I've done able body competition with people with no disabilities on big mountain competitions. So Free Ride World Tour, that's a big circuit. And I've actually beat a lot of able bodied athletes. I made the podium on one of them last year. And that's something I want to showcase and show our sport. Hey, I'm a good snowboarder. Yeah, I live with a disability, but I can snowboard just as good as the other professionals. And I've had that opportunity to do that with the longest running snowboard competition in the world is based in Mount Baker, Washington. And it's called the Baker Bank Slalom. The legendary Baker Bank Slalom is what it's called. And I was the first adaptive athlete to ever compete in it a couple years ago. And because of that, they opened an adaptive category now. Nice. Which is incredibly tough. So with that being said, that makes me live in the sky. The sky is the limit. And I want to continue that, hopefully with big mountain riding. So that's my plan up to the games.
Follow-up to Kevin's question. You have goals. Milano Cortina is coming up next.
Yes.
Who are the people in your life that allow you to train hard, keep your mind focused, free up the space and time that you need to focus on your goals and also just to be in a good headspace? Is it a team? Is it just one person who are bored? The 3 to 5 or one? I don't know what they are, but I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, whether or not it's seeing from, people see the podium, they see the medal, they see the people standing on the podium. Oh, right, we talked about it. They don't see the people behind the scenes. And that's the important piece. My family, the community that has supported me over the years, those are the people that have truly kept me motivated and driven. And it started with literally like since I was a child, growing up around my family and just seeing, like being able to go and talk to my uncle and being able to go talk to my mom a little bit. Like those things kept with me and taught me a lot, but it also made it to where when I had real life situations happening, made me realize what actually matters in life and what doesn't. And to me, I saw the impact and the power behind that. And that's all I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to help do that. And so when I made the games team and got established in a career where I had that opportunity, that's the first thing I wanted to do. And that keeps me motivated. That was the first thing I said when I got the SB award last month is, this is a shared thing. I'm accepting this on behalf of everyone who's had a part of my story and my journey in my life. And even that guy who got me my first snowboarding leg fit on the insurance claim changed my life forever. Might not have had a Paralympic snowboarder if that wouldn't have happened. So those are the people that keep me motivated and keep me going. Yeah.
There was a question some of our colleagues from Salt Lake City are watching. They say, "Oh yeah, I'm a people." They asked that first of all, they said that your time with them was really impactful and inspiring. And they asked, aside from the liner wall, the molds there, was there anything else that about the processes or that facility that surprised you?
Mm-hmm. I actually thought it was really cool to go back and see kind of like the innovative side, like where they were doing the engineering stuff for like future ideas and projects. I thought that was really cool.
Who likes you in there?
So you see, I won't tell. But it was very, very cool. And I thought that stood out to me a lot. But also actually getting to see the way that they press some of the feet that are made there. That was cool.
Tell us more about the leg you use for snowboarding.
Yeah, so I still use the same setup that I originally got. I've broken it over the years and had to adjust it a bunch. But it is, I use the Biodesk setup for my knee and foot. And they go together. And so that's what I use for snowboarding. But I do break it a lot. And so that's just one of the other parts of, living with a prosthesis, since you are going to break it from time to time. And hopefully you can get that repaired at not an insane cost. And so, to elaborate more on, like, I kind of just talked about snowboarding a little bit, but like outside of like the next 5 years after the games, I want to help advocate more for that. Now I want to showcase like the importance of why we need these devices and why insurance should step up and cover it and stop throwing fits and doing what they do. Yeah.
Have you kept in touch with the original guy that put you on the skateboard?
You know what? His family still is my mom's neighbor. So I haven't seen him in a few years, but they're actually twins. So it's him and his brother, Derek and Lee. And I haven't seen them in forever. But yeah, it was really, really cool. And there's like, because I said we look on a hill, there's like dead end street. and he was my neighbor to the left of my house, but I had a neighbor across the street from us. And him and his brother, his older brother was a skateboarder, and the younger brother was my age. And so I still keep in touch with them. Like, we're all from Vine Street. We talk about it all the time. Like, we're the Vine boys. And it's really cool because, yeah, they're great people. And when they come through Colorado, they stop by. Yeah, awesome.
Who's the team to beat in Italy?
The team to beat in Italy? Yeah, USA, baby. Definitely USA.
You had a surprise the China team. So you want to talk a little bit about that? China.
Yeah, we have, like I said before, we have a newer sport, and that comes with, we still have worldwide nation. You have to have so many nations involved to make it a Paralympic sport. And we had, over the years, so many different countries that will come in for a season and try it out, and then maybe they'll stick or maybe they won't. And so China actually was one of those countries that came in, and I think in 2018, and they just didn't do well at the time. And so they just kind of like vanished, and we didn't see them for 4 years. And then we showed up in Beijing, and there they were, our first time ever seeing them. And they were at the games in China, and they're competing. We're like, oh, we haven't seen you guys. And they did great. They did excellent. Like, they had been training very hard. Their funding was insane, and that has helped them create opportunities to get really, really good snowboarding. And so now they are one of the best countries actually to compete against. So it's us. It's like we're leading it. China, I would say Canada too. Canada's pretty good. The Netherlands actually has a team, and they're pretty decent. And who else? Austria, Germany has a team. So there's some really heavy hitters out there. But I think the biggest thing was we're like, man, where'd they come from? Because nobody had seen them. And then we show up in China, they're like, they're at the games. And we're like, how could you? Hard of the word. Hard of the word. But yeah. Cool. Real?
So,
Yeah.
clearly the way that you look physically doesn't just come from snowboarding, I'm assuming. You're working out. Are you doing it on the X3 or are you doing it on something else?
Yeah, that's a great question. What's your regimen?
Yeah.
Great one.
The funny thing is, right, when you think of a snowboarder or a skateboarder, you usually think of either like a tall or a short, lanky guy, probably. And for me, I was that pretty much until like a few years ago, until I realized the need of needing to be strong and healthy. And so that was one of the big things for me, is trying to put on more weight and gain muscle so that I can go faster on the course, because I found myself getting past and section where I felt like I was like killing it. I'm like, I nailed that run in that section, but like I'm a board length, this size is a board, right? I'm a board length in front of somebody. And then next thing you know, we get to a flat section and they just pass me. And I learned that weight was a big deal of that. And so even if I was riding at 102% and everything was flawless, I still could get past in a flat section. And that was frustrating for me. And so I started to lift, and that became my access to get stronger and hopefully make the faster sections or the slow sections faster. And I do lift in my X3. I do pretty much everything in it. What I do is I throw it in the free swing mode, which I don't recommend for everybody because it can be dangerous. But yeah, I throw it in free swing. I do a lot of trap bar stuff, Smith machine stuff, and pretty much everything I can to get stronger. Yeah. And one of the coolest features that like you all know about, but is the rotator, like tire. I love that so much. And actually, and as funny as it is, it's a huge piece because now I can sit crisscross applesauce, and I can sit for sure more comfortably, right? Like, that's something that I didn't really have before. And when you're an AK like us, like me and Aaron, your socket goes all the way up. And so if you're sitting there and you don't have that rotator piece on, it can actually like push your hip out of alignment a little bit, and it's become really uncomfortable and put pressure points. And so that's actually a way for me to alleviate that problem, which is incredible.
I have a two-parter. First off, I'd like to know who you wore to the SBs. Your suit?
The suit?
Yeah, it's a sweet suit, man. It looks really good.
I was so pumped because actually, funny enough, we talked about, I put on some muscles since I started, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta break out the suit. Like, I never wear suits, so I get it down, I put it on, it's like, okay, that's not gonna work. So I gotta go get a new suit. So I go down to the Men's Warehouse, and I had no idea what I was gonna wear. I'm like, oh man, like it's the SB's red carpet. Like I gotta do something cool. Like people are gonna be dressed way out, like to the nine. I gotta figure this out. And so I get a guy, he was super cool, and he's like, yeah, show me all the suits. I'm checking them out. And he's like, there's this really cool one we don't have here right now, and it's maroon. And he's like, I think you'd love it. And I was like, I like maroon. Where's that suit? And he's like, well, we can probably get it here and order it. And so pretty much I went in there and talked to the guy, and he'd like set up, and he's like, you got to do this tie with it. It'll look great. And yeah, we ordered it and picked it up. And like the next day we're in Los Angeles getting ready for red carpet. And yeah, the photos turned out spectacular.
Awesome. A follow-up question.
Yeah.
Any plan to grow the locks back?
Yeah. Yeah. I really want to. That was a big piece of my story. You know, I had cancer. I went fully bald. And that was, you know, more so for a female, I think, than a male. Doesn't matter. But to me, it still mattered. And that was something I never really had long hair. My dad has really curly hair. My mom has curly hair. And so after the cancer and I lost it all, I'm like, I want to grow my hair long and like show that like, hey, I made it through and I can have hair if I want. And so that was my power locks. So I grew them out and had them for a long time. I recently cut them like a couple of years ago. And I keep telling myself, like, man, was the power in the hair? Like, should I protect? Like, I got to do that. But I like the haircut. It looks good too. So,
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's your favorite place to snowboard?
I love Snowbird in Salt Lake City, Utah. So all my Salt Lake people watching, you'll know what's up with that. Snowbird is a great mountain. I also really enjoyed, I got to go to Banff, Sunshine Village and Lake Louise this past winter, and that really stood out to me. I love that place. But if I had to say globally, I really enjoy like Switzerland and Austria. Very, very good mountains.
There's obviously like a lot of travel involved with this. How do you maintain your prosthesis? Like when you're on the road, when you have a fall, do you have like one prosthesis that you kind of come back to all the time? And then like, how does that relationship work with like your alignment as well as like what goes on with the board? Like, I don't know anything about snowboarding, but I can imagine like the stiffnesses, like you said.
Yeah.
How do you juggle all of that?
It is a juggle, exactly what it is. And it can be tricky at times, especially when you're first starting out, because you have no idea. There's no guidebook to properly like set it up for yourself. And what I do is I just bring extra everything. And while I'm here, I actually got to talk to you guys about trying to get some more sets. Yeah, and I think that goes a long way, is just bringing extra components. Like I have 2 snowboard legs and feet in my bag for when I'm going, just in case it breaks. And a lot of times that happens. So it can be tricky. And I do use one prosthetist in Colorado Springs where I live. That's where I live now. And I train there at the Olympic Training Center. And they have a prosthetic office right by it. So I just kind of go in there and see my guy and get set up before I go on a trip.
Awesome. Well, we'll be there in Milan as well for you anyway.
Exactly.
A whole Autobot crew.
Yeah, and I love that. And I was talking to JP about it when we were at the Invictus Games. Like, such a cool opportunity. The fact that Autobot is doing that is miles ahead of anyone else. And that shows how much you guys actually care. Having that care center for all the athletes, keeping them in the game. Because we were talking about it at dinner last night. And this past season, we had World Championships. So the World Cup season ended, and we had one big event, World Champion. And that's a different event. So all World Cup stuff doesn't matter. And I got there, and I was racing really good and like really dialed in this course. I had great lines. Everything was going smooth. My time was very fast. And the format of the Bank Slalom was we would race. And even if you're like seconds ahead of somebody, you have to continue to race because they bracketed it. So even if you're 1, you would go against 8. And then if you fell, that person beat you. And so what ended up happening is I actually had a malfunction of equipment on the course, and that ended up costing me another world title this past season. And so it's a challenging point to deal with any malfunctions of devices.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Given the fact that you have to travel with all this equipment and whatnot, what has been your biggest hang up in your traveling as far as taking all that with you? I know Aideen just asked a similar question, but I'm specifically talking like with, the airports and whatnot, because you're traveling all the time, right?
Yes, yeah, and it's funny enough, me and Aaron would just talk about it, and traveling with a disability is different than just normal travels, and normal travels can just be stressful enough, right? Like anyone knows who's traveled internationally, it can be a long, long day of travels, and I think the biggest thing is, I'm carrying. I mean, these things are huge, right? Like this thing, if I set it down here, it's like as tall as me, and so when I'm carrying 2 board bags, that are 70 pounds each, and I have a big roller bag that's probably 50, 60 pounds. It creates a lot of baggage, literally, that I have to carry around everywhere. And that creates problems, especially for wear on my leg. I have to be creative about the way that I put my liner on. If there's any tears on it or anything, I have to reposition it and really take the time to take it off. That's the important piece. And I've done it before. I first started traveling. I'd be on a flight from, New Jersey to Germany and would show up in Frankfurt, never took my leg off. And I get there, and when I finally got to take my leg off, I would have welts everywhere from my liner, and it just hurt. And that was because I was trying to prevent swelling. So I know about shrinkers. I wanted to put it back on. But, it's kind of weird when you're not in first class and you're sitting in the back with everybody else, and you're like, oh, hey, excuse me, miss, I got to take my leg off. Can I put it under here? It's probably the way of your feet, but let me get it off here because I can't have it on the whole flight. And then, there's a kid behind you in the seat. He's like, what's that? So it definitely creates some points where you're like, you just have to embrace it, figure out what works for you. And what I found is works is just making sure I take it off. So I usually just wear shorts under my pants, so take pants off, or just wear shorts and take my leg off when I need to, wear a shrinker, and then put it back on so that I'll.
All up to that. Worst, best, or funniest TSA story?
So you guys are gonna be surprised with this. I do not have TSA pre-check yet. I don't know why I had to done that earlier, but I actually every single time I go to the airport, I get like the full pat down. And there's been so many times where like, sir, we gotta take you to the back. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the back. No way. We can do the screening here. And I think the biggest part is, a lot of times they might not know how to properly, they got to test your hands and your leg and your shoe. And sometimes they're like, how high does it go? And I'm like, well, it goes all the way up here. And they're like, well, we have to test the top of it. And so there's been so many times where I'm like, okay, how do we do that? And so I think that's kind of the most frustrating point is having to deal with TSA and having that every single time I go to the airport is full search, I actually, there's a few different funny stories I have, mostly regards to when I came back from Korea and I got my medals, and going through TSA with medals was the craziest thing ever. That was so cool. I walked in there, I'm like, they're not gonna notice. They're not gonna notice. And they're like, oh my God, what is this? That's me. Really, really funny stuff. Yeah, that's a good feeling.
I think there's a kind of follow-up question to this from the chat, but Madeline Stout asks, have you noticed in your international travels different treatment or reactions from different people because of your amputation and the use of a prosthetic device? And is there anything about those perceptions that would be useful for us to know about as a prosthetic device manufacturer?
Ooh, that's a solid question. I actually really enjoy the case that comes on the X3 and the X4s. And I think you probably get them from the Genium and probably the Sea Legs. But the shape, I think, of the leg really goes a long way of making it look more natural. So many people that I'll meet and they find out I'm missing a leg, if they see my leg, they're like, oh my God, that looks like a calf. That looks so cool. And that is so awesome because now when I wear pants, it's almost not even noticeable. And that goes such a long way. Definitely get stares and stuff, but it's cool, I think. And honestly, I think it's important at the stage of life we're in this day in 2025 of needing to showcase it more because it is becoming more normal. We're now seeing commercials about it. We're seeing companies jump on board and helping support Olympic stuff. Toyota did a really cool one a couple years ago or open the door and all of a sudden you see 2 carbon feet come out and you're like, whoa. Showcasing that and making it more normal, I think is important. But also I think it's important for people to realize people usually want to ask questions and they're curious and that's why they're looking. And I don't mind that at all. It's different for everyone, but I love to help educate and share some info. And you know, that might change your life. I've had that happen so many times where I'll start talking to somebody, they're like, oh, what's up with your leg? Then start talking to them, the next thing you know, they're like, I know somebody who just had an amputation, so thanks so much for sharing. And I think that is the most powerful thing that could happen.
Awesome. So we're wrapping up right about now. So thank you guys. Thank you, Noah.
Thank you guys so much.